Well, welcome to our podcast and welcome, Patty. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I am good. Today, we will be talking about the frequency of love and what is it about this frequency that can make us feel either on cloud nine or completely destroy us. So, Patty, what is being in love, or more commonly known as falling in love, and how do we recognize love?
I think I believe that your natural vibration is love. We love all the time, We even use the phrase, "I love that cake."
How do we recognize love?
Well, that's a tricky one, because how do you recognize love when really you're always in the frequency of love? And it's like anything, when you're in it all the time, you take it for granted.
Like a fish in the water?
Yeah, it's like you don't jump out of bed every morning being like, oh my God, I'm still here. This is so amazing. I love being in my body. I love my pillow. I love, oh my God, what am I gonna wear? Like, oh my God, like hot water's pouring. But the one that everybody really focuses on is, when am I going to fall in love? When am I going to fall in love? I want to fall in love, which really is vibrating, I don't have love.
The lack of love.
The lack of love. Not recognizing the love that I have in my life. Whether when you love what you do, if you do love what you do for a living, which is very important. We don't think it's that important in our 20s. But then when it climbs past Saturn return, which is your 30, we start to realize that you better love what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because it might make you sick.
Yeah.
If you don't love what you do. And you don't need to love, oh my goodness, I love being a credit controller, or I love, boxing up these boxes. But you can love working with who you work with, like you've got like a camaraderie, or you love giving cards to people, or you love going out to the cinema with your friends at work, and there's a love there. And also I think we have fragmented love with words that we use. When we started to learn language, we started to use words that are, like, you're a very loyal person.
Yeah.
And that's nice to be able to say, oh, Sophia, you're very loyal. But really that means that you're really devoted. Yeah, you're really devoted to me, to Pause and Joy, to, what we're doing here. You're devoted. But then you can also peel that back again and say, no, well, you love me.
Yeah, I love Pause and Joy.
And you love Pause and Joy. So it's now, imagine if you go into work, you don't really turn around and say, well, I really trust my boss. I really, you don't, oh, I really love them. Because that can weird people out.
The appropriateness of it. Of using the word
love. The social etiquette of telling everybody that you love them. But when that filter is taken away, it is all love. But people are uncomfortable expressing how much they love, or receiving love, mostly receiving love, because it can bring up a lot of, this person can hurt me, I feel vulnerable, this person could devastate me, this person. And in the end, if you're with someone for a full lifetime, one person's going to be devastated when the other person passes. Yeah. So love is that. It's that complete annihilation of the ego.
Is that the biggest fear we have about love?
That we're going to be annihilated by it? Yes, either by being made a fool of, or being duped. There's another word, tricked. So love is, rather than just loving anyway, loving people anyway, doesn't matter if they run away from it or they create some chaos so that they can spit themselves out of love.
Yeah.
And people are very good at that in the West.
Yeah.
You know, in the East, people are, you know, love and devotion and showing that is in religious ceremonies.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much here in the West.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a little bit more do as you're told.
Do as
You
you
know, it's that love your neighbor as yourself. But then if you haven't been taught to love the self, then what you're doing is you're loving the neighbor so you can extract feeling good about yourself from your neighbor. And when you don't get it from the neighbor or the boyfriend or the friend, then you kind of lose it.
Yeah. Yeah. When you
Because
said,
I'm loving you and you're not loving me back.
yeah.
And but you know, when you just love people and when you love yourself, you don't need to get it back. It's
Yeah.
not I've given it to you, so you give it back to me. It's not transactional.
Hmm.
You might give it to people and they might never give it back to you, but you get it from your own practice, you get it from your own devotion, you get it from another person, you get it from your art, you get it from your creativity, you get it from that connection you get when you follow your intuition and your dreams, that sense of deep inner love.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so love is basically we're in just one giant love story, whether you know it or not.
I think most of us don't. I think we know it, but we don't realize it as often. Like you said, we don't wake up thinking that, oh my God, you know, I'm in the frequency of love. This is my natural frequency.
That's your natural frequency, is love, and then you are programmed to fear, and you're programmed to be suspicious.
Yeah.
That's the biggest one. How is she going to hurt me? Like I care. And to spend that much time to do that, you know, it's that and you can't take suspiciousness out of the person that doesn't recognize the suspiciousness,
Huh. They have
because
to recognize themselves.
yes, because it's, you know, when someone is loving you, and if you're loving someone
Mm-hmm.
and that person feels suspicious because they've had certain things happen to them or programs have been put in, and then they decide that you need to jump through lots of hoops
Mm-hmm.
to prove yourself, well, that becomes a little tiresome, and it becomes a little if you can't recognize it, you just can't recognize it.
Yeah.
It just is. It's like when you're in the presence of a Buddha, or you're in the presence of someone who is in that vibration, you may not actually even feel it.
Huh.
Because you're too suspicious.
You might, yeah, because if you're not vibrating some frequency on some resonance, you can't.
Yeah. And they're just being loved. So it's
And
it's
you
like
said,
when people used to go and see Neem Karoli Baba, who is I'm a devotee of, and when people would go, they would just see a wee man in a tartan blanket
yeah,
and be like, I don't know what you're all going into this state of love for this like old man in a tartan blanket,
they didn't recognize it.
because they don't recognize it.
Wow.
And other people are like, but can't you feel it? Like, and they're crying and they're like, oh no, and they miss it.
And then you did mention one time that love makes us more generous and more
Oh my
nicer.
goodness, yeah. When you fall in love with someone, like, you don't care if someone cuts in front of you in the car, or someone jumps in front of you in line in Trader Joe's or Whole Foods. Oh my goodness, I'm giving them a pitch there. But you know, it's that, because I love them. But you know, it's because you're a little bit more in ease. You're filled with something. You know, it's you're filled with a fullness.
Mm-hmm.
that other people doing things and
Can't
even
chip away anything from you.
pulling at you to aggravate you is that you should cultivate the people that you do love. Recognize the people that you love to spend time with, recognize the things that you love to do, and do them. And then you're in that frequency of loving,
Mm-hmm.
of loving, and it just gives you a breathing room, you know. It gives you ease, it
Mm-hmm.
gives you appreciation, it gives you all those other things.
Yeah.
um,
So how would you describe we talk about love, and then some people talk about unconditional love, and how do you discern between enabling a loved one by saying, oh, I'm doing this because I love you, and truly, truly loving them unconditionally?
well, you don't say I'm doing this because I'm loving you.
Well, it's like such a common statement you hear in relationships and families.
Well,
Well,
that's
I'm only
conditional,
doing it.
because I'm doing this because I love you.
Yeah, like I'm
That's,
only
that's
doing.
a condition.
Yeah,
That's a condition, because if I didn't love you, I wouldn't be doing this. That's what you're really saying.
yeah.
That's the silent. You see, it's not what people say to me, it's what they don't say.
Mm.
It's the silent tail ender at the end of the sentence.
Uh-huh.
That is where the juice is at, to be able to self-inquire, which is also loving yourself, you know. But if I'm saying to someone, you know, well, I'm doing this because I love you, because if I didn't love you, I wouldn't be doing it, that's a condition. So the condition is there, because if it was unconditional, you wouldn't mention it. A mother doesn't, well, some mothers do, say to their kids, I'm loving you, yeah, because it's fraught, you know. It can be hard sometimes. I think being a parent, I just look at my friends, and they're like, well, if I didn't love them, I would want to kind of take a break,
Yeah.
you know. So it is, it's you, I sometimes you put up with, that's the statement, isn't it? You put up with. And there's a, you know, the thing that sometimes people also say is, oh, I can't believe she loved him,
Yeah.
and he was so, and he beat her.
Yeah.
And really what you were doing is we're victimizing the victim again, because she had the capacity to love a monster.
Beyond the person who's judging it, their imagination.
Yes. And I tell you, the karma of who you fall in love with, yeah, you can fall in love with someone who your family doesn't like, society doesn't approve of, and that is what it is. And when you're in love with that person.
And there is no control of who you fall in love with.
No. And that can really, you know, be very difficult for people, because sometimes they do fall in love with people who can't handle being loved,
Mm-hmm.
because they believe themselves to be unlovable,
Huh.
for whatever's happened in their life, and usually in their younger years. And that person has to love that person that's unlovable, that can actually be a rager, or, you know, reject it and be violent. So, but that's when that balance of, yeah, you can love someone like that, but you also need to love yourself.
Hmm.
It's, yeah, I mean, we can all love monsters,
Yeah.
all love people, but you also have to have that middle ground, that sweet spot of, I love this person and it's not good for me, but I also love myself.
I think that's a very good example of a lot of relationships that are into domestic violence, because we have this idea of like, why are you sticking with this person? But
Yes,
it's
because
the
they're in
love.
love with them.
Yeah. Yeah. Where that's the
And
same.
rather than judging the person, we need to help them to love that person, but also love themselves.
Yeah. So coming to loving ourselves, um, there's a majority of people who have started to recognize this self-love, and then there is how familiar are we with this idea of self-love? How do we start loving ourselves?
Well, most people will take the time for other people, or
Mm-hmm.
people will say to me, well, Patty, I find it difficult to have a practice or do my meditation or do this or do that because it's difficult. And I'd be like, well, if I gave you $100,000, would you do it then?
Uh-huh.
So they would say yes. So there is no resistance. This whole thing about resistance
Yeah.
is nonsense. It's just that you don't love yourself enough to do it just for yourself. But if someone was paying you to do it and love you and love yourself, then you would do it.
Huh. So how do we start filling up this tank of loving ourselves, doing it for us?
I think getting used to sometimes it's just for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's a tricky one for people because everybody wants to take everyone with them.
Yeah, I think you might want to explain that a little more, the just for me
Um, Sometimes you do your, especially if you're an artist, artists know that they have to do it for themselves. They get very used to writing or painting or writing songs, and they're doing it because they're doing it for them. They're doing it for this thing that's come through them, this union, this communion.
Mm-hmm.
And that's self-love, because you're honoring something, the altar of your own creativity, your
Mm-hmm.
own connection. The other thing is, when you're loving yourself, sometimes you are dragging yourself to that dance class, yoga class that
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to go to. Like your mother used to
Yeah.
drag you to wherever you didn't want to go, but she knew that it was good for you.
Yeah.
You didn't want to do it
Yeah.
because that's a form of self-love.
Hmm.
That your mother knew, your father knew, but you didn't know. You were just like, I don't want to do it, right? And we have that 2-year-old still in us that we have to cultivate with self-discipline.
Hmm.
And self-discipline is an act of self-love. Or people would say to me, well, you're very disciplined. And I'm like, well, I'm also, you could take away the word disciplined and say I'm very committed to myself.
Mm-hmm.
Or I could even say I just love myself.
Love
But
yourself.
also people sometimes don't want to go around saying that they love themselves because it sounds like narcissistic. But there is a level of meeting your needs and meeting other people's needs, and also knowing that you can't sometimes meet other people's needs. People are very fly at getting their needs met and not allowing you to meet your own needs.
Yeah, because the other thing, if you talk to like a working parent or somebody who's got like multiple things in the air, they must be like, oh, I don't really have time for me. I really need to take care of like these 10 different things today. So
Yeah.
like self-love doesn't fit in there.
Well, so they think. It's not something that you can fit in. It just
Yeah.
goes along with everything.
Hmm.
You can, if you need to do meditation, do it with your kid
Uh-huh.
and teach them meditation so that you're doing it together. It's not an add-on. It just
Part
is.
of your life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do a few stretches, do things with the kid. That's you getting your self-love while they're participating.
Yeah.
Or actually, self-love is also asking someone,
Hmm.
can you look after my kid for the afternoon, or I need some help here. That's also asking. That I think is very difficult for people to ask for help
Yeah.
because they don't want to be judged. They don't want to be seen as weak. They don't want to be seen as vulnerable. But that's also an act of self-love.
Hmm. Asking for help. Yeah.
Yes, asking for your needs to be met.
Yeah.
And if the other person can't meet them, then you know.
Yeah.
But what we do is we don't ask for our needs to be met, and then we go in a big cream puff when people aren't telepathic.
Yeah.
And then the passive aggressiveness comes in.
Oh yeah. That's like such a
Yeah. Or the person not being able to meet our needs, or them not wanting to meet our needs, is also
yeah.
a realization for some people that, wow, why do they not want to do? Don't they love me? Because if they loved me, they would do it. But maybe they love you, that's why they're not doing it.
Yeah. It's a tricky thing.
Yes, it's a tricky thing. And it's it's like a mother with a baby. She loves the baby, but she knows she needs to watch it fall.
Yeah.
And she needs to watch it fall over and over again to let the child learn to stabilize and walk and get strong in their legs. And it's no different as adults with friends. Sometimes we do things for other people that they would be better doing themselves, and that is also an act of self-love, because I think sometimes you cheat people
From getting their own
from getting their own development, from getting their own sense of self.
well, we've always heard this phrase, "Oh, love is blind." What do you have to say about that? Is love really blind?
um it can be.
Mm-hmm.
It can be. When you see a mother who, just recently I watched a case, and it was a mother whose son had committed murders, and she didn't turn off her love for her son.
Yeah.
Love was blind.
Love was blind then.
So when usually that is taken in a romantic love, but that is unconditional love. Love is blind to, whether it be a father, whether it be a wife, whether it be a husband, whether it be a brother that has done something wrong, that has done something wrong, as I say, in society. Then sometimes you can't stop loving a person. You don't need to like them. You might not like them, but you still love them.
Yeah.
Well, yes, love is blind.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Patti, for this lovely talk. And to our audience, if you have any questions about love or any other topics, you can reach us out on our Facebook page, Pause and Joy, or you can email me at sophia@pauseandjoy. And I thank you, and I look forward to our next episode.
Yes, and I'm loving these opportunities, these events of being able to just share and discuss. And I received an email from a student who said that she was, I don't want to say her name, but she said that she was listening to our podcast at dinner with her husband and her two kids.
Yeah.
So that really warmed my heart, and I thought it was loving.
Yeah.
And to know that people are enjoying this in the car, over dinner, it's a great opportunity, and I'm loving the technology, and I'm loving doing it with you. So thank you.
The response we are getting, I'm loving exploring all these different topics with you.
Yes.
And sharing them with the world.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much. You have a good evening, and I will see you at the next podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you.